Tonight, digging out after the first significant snowfall in Saskatoon has some people grumbling and others rejoicing. And with that weather, some winter driving tips from an instructor to steer you through the season.
Deals, debts, and death.
Plus, a sociologist is questioning the decision by Saskatoon police to make a podcast about a missing woman.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, January 10th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. An explosion and fire in North Regina startled residents late this afternoon. It happened at the site of Luiggi's Pasta House on North Albert Street. Around 4:15 p.m., people who live behind the restaurant in the Coronation Park area say they felt what they thought was an explosion. There were also reports of the explosion felt near 6th Avenue North. Regina Fire Department did confirm the fire was put out quickly when we spoke with them just after 4:30. They also said there was a gas line issue. 3 people sustained minor injuries. No word on the cause at this time. Regina Police and Fire are asking people to avoid the area. The long-delayed snowstorm has now truly ushered in winter for parts of Saskatchewan. In Saskatoon, people are clearing sidewalks of piles of snow that just days ago were completely dry. Dane Patterson has more.
Saskatoon went without a white Christmas last year, but this January weather is sure making it feel like winter. And while some people are grumbling about having to dig out their driveways and sidewalks, for others, it's a long-awaited wish come true. This was Ben Semenov on December 18th. Not even a month later, and 10 to 15 centimeters of snow laid out in about a day, he's like a kid on a delayed Christmas day.
Oh, I was just excited. Yeah, I was just trying to relax and get ready for an early morning, and just trying to get the guys ready to go for work today. Yeah, we've been out since about 4 a.m. this morning, and clearing parking lots and whatnot.
Elsewhere in Saskatoon, people have brought out their shovels and snowblowers and skated by as best they could in the snowstorm. As of this morning, Environment Canada clocked as much as 23 centimeters in Outlook. More than a half dozen other communities garnered more than 10 centimeters. And the Alberta Clipper that brought the biggest snow event this season is moving out of the southeast and into Manitoba. But drivers should still be careful traveling on the roadway as winter snow makes its debut.
There are things that we can all do to make it easier for us. I mean, we can't stop winter from happening, but we can adjust how we react to winter.
Horth says before you plan any travel, check highway conditions and check the weather forecast. And of course, drive appropriately around snowplows and sanders who are working to improve conditions. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Well, we know some areas certainly got more snow than others. Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now and has some of the particulars. So, what happened?
Yeah, well, you heard Dane mention there, 23 centimeters in Outlook. That's the highest amount that Environment Canada has reported. Many other communities getting close to 20 centimeters, including Wynyard and Lucky Lake. Saskatoon, you're kind of in that 10 to 15 centimeter range. Regina, we picked up 4, but again, with a lot of these communities, the wind making it hard to measure exactly how much snow ended up falling. Now, for most of the province, the snow's out of here now. We're seeing the clouds even starting to thin out in some areas. It's really just in eastern sections of the province, through the Parkland region and down toward the Trans-Canada near the Manitoba border where this is lingering. Snow moving out and cold is moving in. This is our next story now, where extreme cold warnings have been extended all the way down to Meadow Lake, encompassing all the far north and even all of Alberta as well. Wind chills likely going to be minus 40 to minus 45 over these next few days and likely through the weekend. Much more on the cold and the snow coming up a little bit later, Sam.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
While Carmichael Outreach readies its new warming shelter, the City of Regina is pitching in to give vulnerable people a place to warm up overnight. Starting tonight from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., the city is making a warming bus available to people experiencing homelessness. It will be located outside of Carmichael. A bus operator and security person will be on hand to maintain a safe space for everyone. Carmichael is accepting donations to support the warming bus. They ask people to drop them at the building during the day and not at the bus to protect people's privacy. Carmichael's indoor warming space is scheduled to open on Monday, January 22nd. A battle continued in court today as a legal dispute over Saskatchewan's controversial Parental Bill of Rights, also known by many as the pronoun policy bill, wages on. Alexander Kwan has more from Regina Court of King's Bench.
Can a not-for-profit continue with its legal challenge of Saskatchewan's new Parental Bill of Rights? That's the question Justice Michael McGaugh has been asked to answer here at the Court of King's Bench in Regina. Lawyers representing UR Pride were in court today, arguing they should be able to amend their challenge to a policy requiring schools to get parents to consent before a child under 16 can use a different gender-related name or pronoun. You'll remember what was once policy is now law as part of the Education Act. MLAs, most of them Saskatchewan Party members, made that change last fall. In a rapid-fire 9-day period, the province recalled and introduced legislation that invoked the notwithstanding clause. That overrides parts of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That included sections on equality rights and the right to life, liberty, and security of the person.
We're also seeking to add a new argument to which the notwithstanding clause was not used. That's based on Section 12 of the Charter, which is the prohibition against cruel and unusual treatment by the government.
UR Pride's lawyers have asked the judge to rule the amendments introduced last year as unconstitutional, even if that has no effect on the policy. UR Pride and their lawyers say they want that done on principle.
Certainly a novel argument, but we think that it's made out on the facts of this case. We'll have the opportunity, if we're allowed to amend our proceedings, to file evidence that will further support our arguments. But we're confident that there's a good case to be made under Section 12 as well.
Lawyers representing the Crown are opposed to the application, but didn't put forward arguments on Wednesday. We know the Crown is going to argue the issue has been settled and the application is an abuse of the legal process. They'll have a chance to explain more Thursday morning when the hearing resumes. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Candace Singbell vanished from downtown Saskatoon in May of 2015. The 32-year-old mother had been struggling with homelessness and addiction. Now, Saskatoon police have made a podcast about her case. But not everyone thinks this is a good idea. Dan Zakreski has more.
It's been almost 9 years since Candace Singbell went missing. She was last seen at this downtown apartment block in Saskatoon.
Welcome to Deals, Debts, and Death, the disappearance of Candace Singbell, a Saskatoon Police Service produced podcast.
Late last year, Saskatoon police produced a 5-part podcast on her disappearance and the police investigation. To date, it's been downloaded more than 28,000 times. Police say download numbers are not their yardstick for success.
I believe one of the main pieces that we want to understand is whether or not we get that investigative lead that we're hoping for. At the end of the day, the downloads are a confirmation that we have a good product. But really the success is going to be determined in whether or not we get investigative leads that allow the investigation to progress. That could be tomorrow, or it could be months down the road. And so I think we're just going to wait and see.
Saskatoon police have had a troubled relationship with the families of missing and murdered women. Delene Bossy went missing in 2004, but it took city police almost a year to upgrade it from a missing persons case to a criminal investigation. A University of Saskatchewan sociologist says this podcast cannot be viewed outside of this history. And Julie Kay wonders whether some families are wondering why police are telling this story.
And so they might question, well, why is it the police then taking up this? And why not the police release the information to the family or to, for the family to lead with public engagement, maybe with journalists or maybe with supporters in the way that they can be more driving that process.
McBride says at the very least, people listening to the podcast will see the lengths police will go on missing persons cases and how, even after almost 9 years, Candace Singbell is still very much on their minds.
Someone knows something about what happened to Candace. If that's you, please come forward to police.
Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
An update now to a story we've been covering since the Taliban seized control of Afghanistan in 2021. That's when a private group made a list of 450 refugees to resettle in Saskatoon. Now, the last person on that list has arrived in our province. She spoke to my colleague, Leisha Grabinski.
When I come to Saskatoon, we just having a beautiful hike. I just wanna hug her for 2 hours. I just want to hug her for 2 hours or 3 hours. I just meet my friends, and also my uncle's daughter is here, and she come to airport and with her daughters, and I just meet her, and she was like, "Ooh, we are just crying." Yeah, I don't want to cry that moment.
Well, Saskatoon has welcomed more than 400 people from Afghanistan, and many of those people were connected with a progressive school that focused on the rights of women and girls, free speech, and democracy. The students at Marifat School were at incredible risk when the Taliban took over, and it has taken until now to have an entire group earmarked by the group 30 Birds Foundation as needing safety. 30 Birds Foundation formed in the wake of the Taliban takeover to get at-risk people out of Afghanistan. Zara Mohammadi is the last person to land safely in Saskatoon, and she's with me here in our Saskatoon studio. Hello, Zara.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to our city.
Thank you. I'm Zahra Mohammadi from Afghanistan. I'm 21 years old.
We've had hundreds of people come. Why did you go to Iran? Why are you the last 30 bird to arrive?
My father told me that because my mother's sick, I just cannot leave my mother alone. You know that. I said that, should I go to Pakistan or not? My mother is important than that, yeah. Because of that, I go to Iran with my family. It takes a long time to coming here. You know, I was 1.5 years in Iran, and I was just hopeless. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How have you been doing these last 2 weeks making Saskatoon your home?
I just going to beautiful places, and I'm just meeting my friends. They are so kind. They are my besties.
A network problem that took many CBC radio programs off the air and offline across the country this morning has been fixed. The problem started early this morning and most of the country was affected. Our network's ability to produce and broadcast content was caused by a major technical equipment failure. When in doubt, you can always listen on the free CBC Listen app. Saskatoon may have gotten buried in snow, but Regina did get its share of that clipper, and this cold and blustery weather, it is just the beginning. Ethan will have more on what's dragging us into the deep freeze after the break. Stay with me. Welcome back. After that Alberta clipper, road conditions are looking a little different today. With snow and cold weather comes poor roads and risks of dangerous driving. So we checked in with an expert to get some tips for new and experienced drivers.
Winter is a fact of life in Canada, but most of the people actually, even the people who are living in Calgary for long years, they cannot adjust the way of driving in the first day of snowing, and they end up with problems. And on the other hand, we have people coming from out of Canada who never seen the snow in their life, and they have no clue of how to manage this situation. They need to adapt the way how they are driving from the normal driving to the winter driving. First of all, when you start driving, you should apply the gas little by little because you expect that it was going to start skidding and spinning. So you should be very careful, you should be very slow. And the second thing, when you see that the car ahead of you start moving, you should not follow right away. You should leave more space and more time between your vehicle and the vehicle ahead of you. If you are driving and you are turning right or left, you start slowing down before you make the turn. Don't break through the turn. When you are slow enough to make your turn, start turning and don't push the gas until you finish your turn, then apply the gas again gently. Actually, winter tires is very helpful. It has more depth. And more importantly, I think the rubber itself is different. It has been made in a way it will hold and make the traction between the tire and the road itself. In winter time, we do recommend to have extra cloth, extra blanket, have all the time a jug of windshield wipers, have all the time a shovel so that you can prepare yourself just in case it happened, you went off the ditch or for some situation there is no help beside you, there is no connection for your cell phone, at least you can keep yourself warm till help will approach you. If you have snow in the back and the rear window, how are we going to melt it? There is a specific spot for that. You just hit it. It's a heater for the rear window. It's going to clear your rear window and keep it available for you to see what you have behind you. The first day of snowing, every single year, we found 200 to 300 accidents. Why? Right? People don't think that it is cold. They're going to turn the engine on, heat in the cabin. When they get inside the car, they find it is warm, it's nice. Yes, it is warm, but the tires are still cold. And the roads are still cold. They don't have that enough traction. You need to be very, very slow until you create that heat with your tires, until you create that friction or the traction between the tires and the asphalt.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Level Up Your Ride event is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. There's going to be some cold cars over the next couple days.
Yeah, going to take a little while to warm them up for sure. And you're definitely going to need to plug them in because it is already cold through much of the province. Almost all of us sitting below minus 20 at the moment. In fact, we've been dropping temperature-wise in south and central Saskatchewan today, and just bitter cold through northern Alberta and northern Saskatchewan. Could be some long-standing temperature records in Alberta being broken with this cold over the next few days here, and possibly in Saskatchewan as well. And the winds are not helping the situation. This clipper bringing through some pretty strong gusts in southeastern Saskatchewan a little earlier today. Those are tapering off now, but even with a little bit of wind, we are feeling below minus 30 in a lot of spots. And again, if you go into the north, we're feeling into that minus 40 to minus 45 range. Now, in terms of that clipper, we could still see that hang on just a little bit in the Yorkton area, around the Parkland region up toward Kamsack overnight tonight and into tomorrow. For the rest of us, I think there will be a little bit of clearing through southern Saskatchewan. This model showing mostly cloud cover, and then things clouding over again as we get early into Friday morning as another system brings some light snow through, and then high pressure, a slow moving area of it, starts to move in. That clears us out, but that is really going to reinforce, lock in that cold air that we're seeing, especially through the weekend. In terms of snowfall amounts, maybe another 2 to 4 centimeters in eastern sections of the province tonight, and then that next system definitely not as strong as this last clipper that we've seen, but could bring 2 to 4 or maybe even locally 5 centimeters through much of the southern half of the province into Friday. Now, winds still going to stay a little bit breezy at times, and of course, that includes overnight tonight. And with just a little bit of wind, with temperatures this cold, we're really going to be feeling those minus 30 to minus 40 wind chills, even heading into Friday as that next system passes us by. The other thing keeping us cold is what's happening in the upper levels of the atmosphere. You see this big area of purple here, and what's happened is a portion of the polar vortex, which normally hangs out around the North Pole, has slid southward a bit, pushing the jet stream far to the south, even getting some unseasonable cold in portions of the southern plain states of the U.S. And not much change happening with this over these next few days here. And we still see those deeper colors into the weekend in Saskatchewan. And that means that our extended forecast looks something like this. Minus 20s, barely getting above minus 30 as we get into Saturday. If you have anything outdoors planned for the weekend, I would say just forget it at this point, because those wind chills are making it feel into the minus 40s. A slight reprieve, though, as we start to get into next week, and that's when we'll get some more substantial clearing as well. Saskatoon, again, very similar situation here. Again, could be some light snow with that system Friday before things start to clear out, those overnight lows. Very, very cold as well. And we thought, Sam, there was going to be a little bit of a reprieve, maybe minus teens heading into next week. Looks like we might just have to wait a little bit longer.
It can still happen.
It could.
It could still happen.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Homeowners in New Brunswick had a surprise guest swing by Monday night. Home security cameras captured the moment a meteor burned through the atmosphere. Amateur astronomers say it was possibly a remnant of the quadratic meteor shower that peaked last week. The fast-moving firebars are rare to see as they happen, but as doorbell cams get more popular, that's changing. We'll be back after the break. BC is leading the way when it comes to screening for HPV. It's the first province in Canada to bring in new tools to combat cervical cancer, the fourth most common cancer in women globally. As Renee Filipponi explains, the new program allows people to test themselves at home.
Tests like this, taken in the comfort of your home, will help British Columbians avoid the stirrups and the often uncomfortable pap smear.
This program puts the power to prevent cervical cancer in the hands of ordinary British Columbians.
The province is moving away from traditional screening, which sweeps up cells in the cervix to test them for cancer, and toward a screen for the human papillomavirus, or HPV, which can be done from home.
We have a tool that can really open the doors to screening for the entire province.
This researcher says screening for HPV is much more effective in preventing cervical cancer. It can catch risky strains of the virus early. The vast majority, 70% of all cervical cancers, are caused by the virus.
It's more accurate, so it detects those precancerous lesions more accurately. And also, when folks get a negative, we have greater confidence that those women are not going to go on to develop precancer.
Doctors say screening more women for HPV alongside vaccines could be a game changer.
Now we use liquid-based.
PEI is also offering HPV testing, including self-test kits, but they need to be done in a clinic. BC is the first to make them widely available for home use.
Really, this is something that most provinces are beginning to look at through pilot programs, and really looking forward to making that transition.
So you get this in the mail and you open it, you go through the instructions.
Bianca Michelle took part in the home test pilot and hopes this option will ensure more people get tested.
The idea of having a pap smear is always daunting to me because of historical trauma, and if it made the self-testing kit made it safer for me.
Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your frosty forecast.
Yeah, we don't really have far to go to reach our overnight lows in Regina, at least. We're looking at a midnight temperature of around -22. Again, feeling likely into the -30s. Not much changes tomorrow. We could see a few breaks in the cloud in the morning hours. I think there's a better chance that we'll see some sunshine, though, come the afternoon before things cloud over for that next system early on Friday. But it'll stay cold. And Saskatoon, we're looking at some cloud cover again through the evening hours tonight and likely through the overnight hours. Still cloudy, though, by the morning, feeling like -35. And then we hit the afternoon, possibly some breaks of sun here and there, Sam. But yeah, winds not all that strong, but it's going to make it feel cold.
Brr.
Yeah.
Thanks,
well
Ethan.
said.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to our website, subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.